Welcome to St. Augustine this evening, the Mike Davis Show. We have a very, very special guest for you today. Mm-hmm. Every once in a while, we get locals on here, and we have a local for you today that you are really going to enjoy. Mm-hmm. Welcome to July the 8th show. We hope that you all survived the 4th of July weekend. I barely did. Family finally left yesterday.
I mean, sadly they left. Sadly they left.
I love my family. Didn't I just say that? We had 20 or 25 people for multiple dinners over the 4 days. So and we had family staying with us the whole time, which I love my family. I can say whatever I want to. None of them ever watched the show. So it's pretty much, I could say, I'm good, I'm open. And I would tell them the same thing.
Davey likes your haircut.
Davey does like the haircut. I have gotten lots of good comments about the haircut. I'm not allowed to let it grow out long anymore.
No?
Nope. Darcy told me no more. You have to go back to the short haircut.
Come on. You need to get it to your shoulders once.
No, she told me it looked the longer it is, the older I look. And that did it for me. I mean, she didn't have to tell me no. She just said, you look really old when you have your hair long. And I was like, okay, got it. It'll be short. I can do this. Come on. Yes. All right. So let's make a little bit of money before we introduce our amazing guest for you today. And I'm very, very excited. I have stalked this guest for a long time. Finally, her lawyer said, I'll come on the show if you'll leave her alone. The lawyer, not her. No, I'm just kidding. No, we've an amazing guest. All right. Opening their doors in 2008, Brightway Insurance, the Casey agency, has proudly stood by their customers through hurricanes, major floods, hail, and fires. Through these events, the agency has become a much-needed insurance resource in times of trouble and hardship. Honesty and integrity are the pillars of their core values, says owner Ashley Casey, and they pride themselves on being insurance experts while developing strategies that help their clients meet their insurance needs. Brightway Insurance, the Casey agency, give them a call. They insure this show, so you know they're willing to take risks.
Absolutely. And if you don't have dinner plans yet, join the Tringale family. For dinner, you can go to Carmelo's Pizzeria. They're voted best pizza 9 years running. They've got New York-style brick oven pizza. They also serve salads, subs, wings, and more. Or you can head to 123 Burger House. They're voted best burger 3 years running. Burgers, chicken, wings, salads, authentic wood-fired pizza, and ice cream for dessert. Both restaurants offer dine-in, takeout, or delivery through Bite Squad and Grubhub. You might want to choose that option. It's a little stormy out there. Join the Tringale family for dinner tonight. Now, I hope that you have already made this call. Powell Heating and Air Conditioning, they've been dedicated to customer service, and that has been evident in everything they do for the 39 years that they've been a locally owned business. From the moment they answer your call until the time they leave your home, they are working to make you comfortable and confident about the care and service you receive from Powell. With their fleet of 10-plus trucks, a 15,000 square foot warehouse stocked with parts and equipment, they are ready to serve you around the clock. They service all heating and air conditioning brands, and their emergency service is always open 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, including nights, weekends, and holidays.
All right, and Salomon Services, they're continuing their summer program for utes. So if you have a ute who is trying to get in better shape for next year, for their sport, they can help them do all kinds of great things to get in better shape and be stronger, quicker, and faster. Their middle school, high school, and college students train Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. for the middle school, 5 to 6 for high school, and college 8 to 9. And if you're a regular old dude like me trying to stay in shape, you can go there anytime. They've got a state-of-the-art facility, both indoor and outdoor turf areas, and all of their coaches are certified through the National Strength and Conditioning Association. I will be there tomorrow morning because I like being in shape.
You don't even need the PF Flyers.
I don't need the PF Flyers. You really, truly do not. There are some days we train with no shoes.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
All right.
It reminds me of my days as a child when I was told to go outside with no shoes.
When you yourself were a ute?
Because we'd ruin our shoes, so just go outside and play without them.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We had feet as tough as Tarzan.
I had one friend's mom who insisted I take my shoes off when I went in there, but I only put my shoes off to walk into, or put my shoes on to walk into the house. And so I'd take my shoes off, and then my feet would just be black. I'd be running around outside all day. She'd be like, well, maybe you can keep your shoes on.
And you had one announcement that's political, the St. Johns County Chamber, before you introduce our guest.
So the St. Johns County Chamber of Commerce is having Meet the Candidates events. So these are going to be held Tuesday, July 23rd and Wednesday, July 31st. Tuesdays is going to be 5:30 to 7:30 at Beachside High School, St. John's, and Wednesday is going to be 5 to 7, Solomon Calhoun Center in St. Augustine. So get out there, meet these candidates, and be informed before you cast your vote.
Yes. Like, this is the opportunity. Everyone that says to me, I don't know how to meet a candidate or get in touch with one, this is the time. They all want to talk to you right now because they all want your vote. So if you have something to say and it's something important, you have from now until you vote. And once they get elected, they get really busy. And yes, it's hard to get a hold of them sometimes, not always. Most of them are really good at returning phone calls. But just go out there and meet them. If you don't know who, there's plenty of these forums out there. The chamber does a good job. Some of the different Republican Party groups and different will do these events. You have a few of them. Go meet them. They'd love to talk to you. They really, really want your vote.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. And now we get to introduce one of the most amazing locals.
Yay.
Grew up on Saragossa Street. My mom's family didn't torture her that I know of. But Sister Suzan Foster from St. Joe. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
And you are semi-retired, but you have a whole nother job, which we're going to get to.
Okay.
But you grew up here in St. Augustine, went to St. Joe.
Right.
Joined the Sisters of St. Joseph.
I did.
Where did they send you once you joined?
Oh, gosh. Well, we went to Jensen Beach for a boot camp, nun boot camp.
Did they teach you to shoot? Because a lot of us thought that the nuns could shoot really well, and I just want to see if that was true or not.
Oh, that's a secret. I can't tell you. After that, I was missioned in Miami for 1 year.
Yeah.
Fourth grade, 48 children, self-contained class.
Yeah.
In one class.
In one class.
But none of them misbehaved.
Of course not. And then I went to 2 years in Jacksonville at Christ the King. Then I was missioned. They missioned the young ones a lot, different places. Went to West Palm Beach, St. Juliana's, Gainesville. Finished up my degree at University of Florida, go Gators. And then I went to
Did that hurt, Mike?
No, I have family that went to Florida as well. I hear it was a remedial school back in the day. No, I'm just kidding. It's a great. Listen, Florida has a phenomenal. It's a great college. Dad went there. My younger brother and sister went there. Yeah. A lot of our family and friends have been there. It's a great school. So.
Then I kind of settled down at Bishop Kenny High School for 20 years in Jacksonville, Florida. We call that the big high school. The big diocesan high school.
Yeah.
And then I was missioned to St. Joseph Academy in St. Augustine, which was coming home to my own alma mater.
How did that feel when they told you get to go back to St. Joe?
It was very interesting because I was actually working in the administrative offices. I had not been assigned to, for 3 years, I had not been assigned because I was on the leadership team. And the priest who was teaching theology, religion at that time, suffered stroke. And so I was asked if I would come. And the Reverend Mother at that time said, well, we really need you here and all that. But after a few thousand phone calls she finally told me I could go teach part-time there, and the rest is history.
Well, and how long were you at St. Joe?
25 years.
Yeah, because you had my younger siblings, Red and Courtney.
Yeah.
And then my children ended up going through there as well.
Correct.
And there's a long time between my siblings and me, so that it wasn't that you were there for forever. It's just that there's 12 years between, or 15 between myself and Courtney. So there's a good range there. I will tell you, I don't talk to anybody that was a student or an alumni that wasn't there when you were there, that didn't have the utmost respect for you.
Well, thank you.
They really try. I told Reese today, I'm interviewing Sister. She's like, I love Sister Suzan. So to be able to do that for a long period of time with a group of kids, as much as they changed over that time period, is really a testament to you. That's absolutely awesome. So thank you for being such a good steward of St. Joe for such a long period of time.
Well, thank you.
Did that feel good being an alumni going back there?
It did. It was interesting. One of the students raised their hand. It was like the first or second day of school, and she says, "Sister, do you remember so-and-so?" And I said, yes. She says, "That's my grandmother. You went to school with her." Thank you very much.
Didn't need that on day one.
I had day one, all right.
I know that is always kind of what we were joking last week. I was 9 almost 10 whenever we celebrated the 200th, the bicentennial for the country. Mm-hmm. And I was reading somewhere 2 years from now we celebrate the 250th, and I'm like, Well, that went quick.
It goes very quickly.
How did that happen? I was like, this is crazy. But no, so you retired a few years ago.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. And then you started a whole new mission.
I did.
And what are you now? Because I find this absolutely amazing that you've had this amazing career all over the places you just named. You get a chance to retire, take a minute to breathe, and you go, you know what? I got something new I want to do.
Well, I had 45 minutes of retirement, they joke.
Yeah.
I handed in my keys to the main office and said goodbye to everybody, and left there at 9:15, and at 10 o'clock I was in the office interviewing others for various jobs for my new job.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the St. Joseph Neighborhood Center, which the Sisters of St. Joseph have. It's going to be our legacy. It's something we want to do, and it's for single moms who are just above the poverty level, not able to get a lot of the government programs, and their children are pretty much provided for, but they're not. We're hoping to give them all sorts of education, a better understanding of who they are and the dignity that they have, because so many of them feel very guilty.
Mm-hmm. And where are you teaching now?
Well, right now we're in the convent in Lord's Hall and all over the place, but we are renovating the St. Benedict School in order to have spaces for classrooms and babysitting areas, etc. And
the St. Benedict School, I love the story of that, because it was the African American school that the sisters taught at. Right. Where you actually, I think the sisters got in trouble at too. Yes,
they were. Trying to think of, I think it was 1916. They were arrested, placed under house arrest, because at that time whites could not teach blacks in the state of Florida, and it went to the Florida Supreme Court, and of course they threw it out because it was a private school.
I think there's a lot of great history to the Sisters of St. Joseph, but I think that's one of the shining moments in the city of St.
Definitely one of the shining.
I look at that and I think, but that's just awesome.
Right.
That's just, and to be back at that, and the school, for those that don't know, really was run down. It was, I don't want to say neglected, just it wasn't taken care of. And the roof was lost. We were actually called
braced it up.
We braced it up. We were called in to brace it up. John Benoit, I think, is the contractor that's been awarded. Great guy, really good contractor. And so we're just happy to see the school have a second life. Right. We just are so happy that the structure was saved and that it's going back, and that the sisters are going back in there to be teaching. I think that's just a huge plus. And you said there maybe a dedication day coming up?
There should be a dedication day sometime in September. That's our goal.
Will you come back maybe and just the week before and just let us know so we can tell
everybody? And I'm going to bring Sister Stephanie with me.
I would love to have that. I don't know her. Is she a good sister? She a good sister or bad sister? Of course she's a good sister. I'm just kidding.
Of course she's a good sister.
No, I'm just teasing. No, but I would love that. So how many students do you currently have?
Well, we have kept the cohort small because of space, okay? So right now we have 3.
Yep.
Okay. Got to get my cheat sheet out now.
Get your cheat sheet.
Okay. One is hopefully has just interviewed for a job in Jacksonville at an insurance company, and hopefully in a marketing area. Another is going to stay with us and be in our development office. And another one is going to go to FCTC for diesel mechanics.
That's
they have been with us for 3 months, taking all sorts of different types of human development courses. I would say I taught things like business protocol, and they did some business math. They did speech. Awful lot of volunteers came forward on this. We will have a very, very, very nice state-of-the-art classroom in the new building, so that'll be nice.
How many students do you think you can get to in the new building?
At this point, we'd like to keep it at 10. I think for the next couple of years, possibly 20 as time goes on.
Okay. And how long do you see yourself working in this role? 25 years at St. Joe. Can you do another 25 at here?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. At least a couple. It'll depend. Who knows what else is going to be? Because
Mm-hmm.
5 years ago, if you had told me this is what I'd be doing, I would, because we didn't have this on the horizon.
Yeah.
So I would looked at you and said, I don't think so.
What intrigued you about this? How did you get what when it started coming about and you saw the retirement? Said what called you? What did God beat you over the head with to go? You need to go do this.
Meeting the women who dearly loved their children and who had been through things that I never even could imagine. Okay. And yet they survived. Their children are precious. They want the best for their children. They will sacrifice for their children. You want to help them.
Yeah.
You want them to become the women that they can be.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Darcy and I talk a lot. I think Bob Goff may have said this, or someone else may have said it to Bob a long time ago. But Jesus saves by ones, right? He counts by ones and he saves by ones, right? And so you look at it, you say, it's not 300 students you're dealing with, but the three that you are helping to put on the right path, you change their life for forever, right? And you change their kids' lives and maybe their grandkids' lives because they're given an opportunity to succeed and go on.
Yeah. This is our second cohort. The first cohort had 4. Well, actually 5. 2 of them are CNAs, and one is a CNA and a medical assistant. Another is a CNA, medical assistant, and phlebotomist. Every day she would come in from Crescent City. She had started out as our housekeeper, and we saw in her this urge to really, 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 really help her 2 young boys. And so we said, well, what about this program? And she just went, Scott, she said, well, I don't know if I can do it or not. We said, you can do it. So she did it, and now she works in a doctor's office 7 minutes from her house. She can, Monday through Friday, she can be part of her children's, athletics and school, and become a little bit more important, to them in regard to that. We have another one who is employed by us, who is in culinary and dietary. And then we have one that's working in a finance office in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I just think it's absolutely amazing. So you were a part of it, but how many other sisters got together on this? And said, there's more that we can do, and this is what we can do.
Well, we have the president of the board is Sister Kathleen. The chair of the board is Sister Stephanie. We have a wonderful woman, Kristen Paul, who is our executive director. Sister Carolyn Tucker, who you may know.
I think I do.
I think she may have taught you.
It's entirely possible.
Yeah, math?
Maybe. May have been Rhett.
Maybe.
Because I don't know. Yeah. We didn't have, at St. Joe, when I was there, we had a lot of Franciscan brothers.
Oh, okay.
We had the Franciscan brothers that were going through there.
She was there then.
But I think she might have been after me.
Okay.
Yeah.
She taught the business math, and then we have other sisters who just spend their time, especially the older sisters, just coming in and having breakfast we have breakfast every Wednesday, for anybody that wants to come in, and they'll come and they'll talk to them, and it's like grandmother, giving them pointers and telling them how wonderful they are.
Yes.
And that's so important.
You need that encouragement. You need somebody to tell you believe in you. Just like you told the young lady said, I don't know if I can do this. And you said, yes, you can. Right? Sometimes that's all it takes to put somebody on the right path is, I believe that you can do it. You need to believe you can do it. And then you can, right? It's just that kind of push. So do you still have mass at 6:30 in the mornings?
No. We have mass at 4:45 now in the afternoon.
Okay.
Not in the morning. No.
So you finally gave up on torturing young altar boys during the summer. For those of I was an altar boy, and one summer, the schedule was you were Monday through Friday, or you were Thursday through Saturday. And I think I was one of the few boys that was put in the bulletin that actually showed up on a regular basis. And so if I was Monday through Friday or Monday through Wednesday, one of the sisters always said, well, we know those other boys aren't coming Thursday through Saturday. Why don't you just show up too? And so I had these entire weeks. And back then I was not an early riser. Today I'd have been like 6:30. That's like lunchtime. What are we doing? I could be there. But back then it was like misery. And I would ride my bike from North City. There was always one house that had wild dogs that would chase me for 2 blocks. I was like in the Tour de France at that point. I was riding as fast as I can. And the dogs would always go, we got you. we're just going to outright run you down. But no, it was really, really fun. There's a lot of the great sisters there in the morning. And it was really nice because some mornings the sisters, well, why don't you stay and have breakfast? And you'd get breakfast maybe, which is like, okay, now it's worth getting up in the morning and coming down here. But no, that was always fun. So 4:45 in the afternoon is a much more reasonable time for mass. So that's awesome. So much better. So how many sisters do you think will be involved at some point in time? How big a staff do you think if you get to the 10 or 20 students?
Oh gosh, sisters, maybe 5 or 6. Because we're aging very much so.
You're not. Maybe the other ones are. What do you need from the community to help?
We need. We'll have a better idea once we get into the building and see exactly what we need. But we will be needing volunteers to teach. Whatever the craft is that you bring your passion. We need people to assist in. We had a moms group this time around on Wednesday afternoon. We had 2 moms from the area who came in and talked to them about the pluses and minuses that you go through being a mom. Your fears, your guilt trips, which of course my mother and your mother never had.
I don't know if your house was like my house, but the paper when it showed up, my brother and I go, yep, if there's a bad story in there, because mom would read about some child somewhere that something bad had happened to. If it happened at a lake, you weren't allowed to go on a lake for a couple of months. If it happened on a bicycle, you weren't allowed to ride your bike. I mean, there's all of these. Did you see some kid got something happen? It's like, Mom, that's not us, right? But we were like, if that record delivers one more story about a small child being hurt and I lose one more thing I can do. Yeah, Mom worried all the time.
Yeah.
She was.
Yeah.
Do you partner with other providers?
We definitely do. Catholic Charities is a major partner of ours, of course. Our case manager is from Catholic Charities.
Okay.
We have, let's see, FCTC. We were talking to Alpha Omega.
Yep.
And various others. We've got our fingers out there, waiting to clasp their hands and say, come on, let's help. So.
Yeah, Darcy volunteers and drives sometimes
she
for
does
Alpha
that.
Omega, and one of the girls got in the car and says, I have to go to the Sisters of St. Jude. You probably don't know where that is. And Darcy just laughed. She's like, I didn't grow up here, but I know where that is. I can get you there.
Yeah, I saw her one day. Yeah.
Yeah. So really, I think that's just, I think it's amazing. I've talked a lot to these local providers that are social service providers. And St. Johns County, St. Augustine is so blessed to have the agencies that they have. Yeah. Who are so dedicated to whatever little segment of the population are, right, and provide such great services and so many great volunteers and maximize the amount of money that they have as nonprofits. And tell people if it was all government agencies running it, you'd have about 25% of the people served and it would cost 5 times as much money. I mean, it's just, it's a testament to everyone that's involved in that process. And the people that financially support those organizations.
Oh, the donations that came in, I mean, were just astounding. And the grants, people on our staff worked very, very hard on the grants, state grants, and local grants. And it came to be.
Yes. So was there a moment that you felt called to be involved in this?
We were sitting doing some strategic planning, for the convent, and our CEO, Frank Castillo, was saying something about, the second tier of needing people in poverty need a second tier. First tier is, get them a place to stay, get them the electric bill, paid, get them food. But the next tier, is like education. I'm going to put it very simply, education. And, we were talking about it. No, that would be good. We could do that. Every sister's been in the classroom at least for a couple of years. And he said, Gee, I wonder, where would we have it? And we said St. Augustine, so that the older sisters at Lourdes could, be a part of it, definitely. And where would we do it? And he and I just both looked at each other, and at the same time, we both said, renovate St. Benedict's. I take usually a morning walk, and I would go by there, and I would go, oh, it would just bother me, that it was there. And thank you and your dad for, bracing it, because we we wouldn't have been able to do anything if it hadn't been braced.
Well, we were, that was always one of those projects we were honored to be a part of. It was a very small part, but we were just so glad to be a part of that. And it was, we had a lot of St. Joe alumni. We worked on the archives building.
Yes.
And we were amazed when we counted the number of St. Joe alumni that worked on that building. It was really very, very neat for so many of us to be involved in that as well. So that was really a fun project. But the St. Benedict's, and one of the stories I heard probably several years ago is even though we had all of the kind of race relations that were going on, St. Benedict's was the African American Catholic Church. So that's where the African American Catholics went. But during hunting season, a lot of the good old boys would go to church because they had the earliest service. So they could get out in the woods. They could meet the requirement of going to church on Sunday, and they go. So there's
right, because there was no Saturday mass.
And there was no Saturday mass, and so here on Sunday morning during hunting season, people that had very different views about race were going to church there together, and I always thought that was kind of an interesting St. Augustine story.
It's always been intertwined. My grandmother lived on Bridge Street, so when I would stay with her, naturally I'd go to mass at St. Benedict's.
Yes.
So people were amazed. They said, "Well, you mean you went to St. Benedict's? That was the African American." I go, "My grandmother lived across the street." And besides, the iceberg had the best ice cream cones anyway.
Gotta go for the iceberg. Yeah. Favorite flavor? Okay.
Yeah, I'm a chocolate ice cream girly.
I'm chocolate chip. I just need a little add extra. And if you put sprinkles on just about anything, you got me. Just that you got me. I'm like, the kid's got sprinkles? Okay, man. But no, it was really interesting. I told one day I was walking across the plaza and where they put the Andrew, the footprints. And the guy putting the footprints in, and I'm not going to mention his name or his family's name. But I looked at him, I said, where was your dad and your granddad when this whole thing happened? And he said, you know where they were. Yeah. And for me, I found that to be the most interesting story about change in St. Augustine is here was somebody whose parents opposed Andrew Jackson from walking across.
Andrew Young
walking across the street and getting to the plaza. And here he is putting the footprints in the concrete all these years later. And I said, that's change. That's real change of, hey, this is just a completely different place. So
is this St. Benedict's that you braced?
Yes.
So you guys put all the, I don't know, I guess braces, the little TP poles.
That is it. That is exactly it. We had a structural engineer go over who discounted his kind of fee to help out. And it was just one of those really cool projects where we just don't want to see this building go.
Right.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It was at the point of had it not had help, it was going to be gone.
Oh, yes.
And so it gave it enough time to raise money because there was a huge committee that worked on that.
There was,
for a long time.
God bless them for what they could do, to preserve it really, so that we could come in along with all the volunteers and all the wonderful people that work the construction and all the people that have donated, so that we could come in and make it happen.
Well, Thomas Jackson was
Jackson.
one of those. Thomas alumni.
Yes.
Kids went there.
Yes.
You really want to hear 20 minutes of story? Ask him about his daughter, who's a doctor.
Yes.
No, he's awesome. He just a wonderful, wonderful family, and really been dedicated to that school and that bill and the church. It's just really, really so. Yeah, I think that's such a great part of history, and as that neighborhood has changed over the last 20 years, if you don't preserve that part of history, people just don't get it, and they just don't understand. Right. It's just it has become a more gentrified neighborhood.
Yes, it has,
and that's just the way that it is, right? I miss the old days, but things change, people and move, and such. It's very interesting to watch that neighborhood be a completely different neighborhood today. But it's great that the school's going to be back there, and it's great that it has that history and that connection, and that you're helping people again. So, we talked a little bit about needs. You said once you kind of get in there, if somebody wants to donate, where can they donate?
Oh, the website.
Yeah.
Yes, the website. I sent it to you. sjncfl.org, I believe.
.org. Okay.
So Amanda will put that up. It'll be in the links, and it'll have the comments. Without naming names or anything, any like really inspirational stories from one of your students that have gone through those first couple of classes that they had just been through a lot, and you're like, just so proud of them.
I think when you have to leave the father of the child because he cannot contain his violent anger,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's and you survive it.
Yeah.
And you keep your children who appear to be, okay. They don't appear to be suffering anything. Of course, you don't know what goes on between mom and child, but and to want to keep them, and yet to fear that something like that could happen. Here. I mean, it's just mind-boggling.
Well, and I think you touched too on that second tier,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there's services that kind of help you get stable a little bit, but that second tier service is the one that propels you.
That's
And
good.
get you without that, you're stuck always needing that first tier
Right.
service, and that getting somebody to help you go, okay, I now have an opportunity, or I've had the training or the education, so I can get a job and I can provide for my family. That's what stops you from going back
Mm-hmm.
down again.
Right. I can get a job. In fact, the one that was our housekeeper, she has actually bought a home now.
Yeah.
She has a home. She got a car. I think 2 or 3 of them were able to buy their own cars now.
Mm-hmm.
No longer have to depend on family for food and a place to stay. Becoming independent.
Mm-hmm.
And what we want to give them is the gift of the fact that they are children of God, the dignity. They are children of God.
Well, and that they're loved.
Yes, they're
Right.
loved. Right.
You're loved, and you have something special to do, and you have a purpose, and all of that comes from God. Right?
We did have one in cohort 1 who was estranged from the family
Mhm.
up north, and the second Thanksgiving she was with us. She said, "Sister, I won't be in class." I said, "Okay." She says, "I'm going home." And when she we thought, wonder if she'll come back,
Mhm.
And she came back a week later, and she said it was amazing, to introduce my child and who I was and
Mhm.
what I did. And this is the one that is now in a finance office in Jacksonville,
That's awesome.
making $20 an hour now.
That's fantastic.
Which is pretty good.
Amanda, I'm not giving you a raise.
Facts.
Now, any questions, Amanda?
No, I really appreciate you coming in and telling us about the work that you're doing. And I do have the website in the comments for everybody so they can check it out. And I hope that they'll give towards their costs.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Do you guys do fundraisers or anything?
We did do a mail out
Mhm.
thing, and we probably will come up with something as time goes on, or actually maybe have the women come up with something, or have volunteers come up with something.
Mm-hmm.
We just have some amazing people here in St. Augustine. Really.
Yes. No, I think that's, again, we talk about all the success of a lot of these nonprofits is due to the giving
Mhm.
from people that are involved with them. And there's just some amazing people in St. Augustine that have always given. And if you
Yes.
go read the history of St. Augustine, it's a miracle we made it through the first 200 years were pretty brutal.
Yes.
I mean, I've read the history, and I like there's
Right.
the book with the 7 different authors, and I'm like about halfway through, and I'm like, I don't know how they made it the first 150 years, right? The food, the famine, the all the plagues, the wars that they went through. I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, it must have been like, oh, we're sending you to St. Augustine. Anywhere but there. Can I go anywhere but there? There's all the whole world to go. But to me, it's just the resiliency, right? The people from St. Augustine just have that. We're going to make it through all these
We're gonna
things, and
make
we're
it.
going to be
We're
fine.
gonna do it.
I mean, people look at St. Augustine today and they don't understand what it was like growing up.
All right.
I mean, I grew up a generation after you, but I joke with people. They're like, "Oh, you guys always had a great time here." And so I'm like, "No, we rolled the streets up at dark
Yes,
when I was
we
a kid.
did. We did.
You weren't allowed out after dark. I mean, somebody would pick you up by the scruff of the neck and take you home. What are you doing out? It's 8:45 and it's summertime. I mean, it was just a very different. You grew up in the era when you could roll the cannonballs down the bridge.
Right.
I grew up in the era when you could just ride your bike on either lane over the bridge at like
Yeah.
about 10 o'clock at night. And
Yeah,
you
sure.
never had to worry about a car coming the other way because there was no traffic. And now we have this nightlife that's really cool. And we have all these really neat places to stay. It's a very different downtown.
There's no tourist season.
There's just the season.
That is Yes.
Yes.
It's just always there.
Mhm. It is. And then you watched all the changes at St. Joe.
Yes.
Because you went to the original school.
The original school.
Which I missed out on. I was the first class to go through the new school all the way through. I joke we had to dodge concrete trucks the first couple days. They were still pouring sidewalks, and it was really it was a pretty neat experience. I did some work with Howard Davis, no relation, years later, the architect, and we laughed about we were both there the first day it opened because he was watching them do all this stuff, and I was the kid dodging concrete. So little did I know that I would be dodging concrete the rest of my life. But I thought it was just really, really amazing. Anything else that the sisters have going on?
That's our big thing. Let us get through the dedication, and we'll come back and tell you about something else.
So you have something big coming on? Maybe, possibly.
We're still looking at things.
Okay. All right. I love that you've got some of the older sisters involved in this.
Oh yes.
Because really there's so much information and knowledge in that age group, and the ability to pass that on to somebody that's younger. I think that's one of the keys of it's kind of one of the cycles of life to me. As you get older and you finally get somewhere, you're like, I'm not there yet. I'm working on it. For those that know the show, I'm getting closer. Amanda doesn't have any hope for me, but no. But I think it's just it's great that you're able to pass that information on. That next generation is able to use that, learn from that, and I think that's just so cool. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Do you have anything?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. Dedication in September. You're going to come back and let us know. All right. Now, we do 5 questions on Mondays.
Okay.
And then we're going to probably talk about a few other things as we go through this. So my first question is the one that I've been dying to ask you for years. Because my kids came home and they talked about this event like it was the greatest thing that ever happened in their St. Joe career. So have you ever been in a food fight?
Yes. Standing in the middle, of course, of the academy cafeteria, and it was planned. It was definitely planned.
It was 100% planned. My kids were not a part of the planning of it, but they as a younger, they were underclassmen. I think the upperclassmen.
Yeah, it was probably seniors.
Yeah, it was seniors had something to do with this.
And they came, and it was a mess, and people dived under the tables and chairs, and yes. So,
were you calling for help on the radio?
Yes.
That was the part. The kids, like Sister Suzan was on the radio calling for help.
Going, get over here.
No, it was very fun. I have never been in a food fight. I've seen a bunch of them, but it was never something that I was afraid that at any age, if I'd been in one, my mom would have come out of nowhere and just beat me for throwing food. We had to work really hard for food when we were growing up.
It was, I'm going to say it wasn't perhaps the best day ever for the seniors after that, but they were somehow or the other punished, I know. But you know, they took it. They're kids. They took it. I mean, I always wonder if some of them, you know, now probably donate a lot for hunger. It's one
of those moments you do as a kid. You're like, oh, I'm so proud of this, and later in life you go, man, I should never have done that.
Yeah, right.
And you learn from that. And you're like,
you learn from it, and you go on. Fortunately, no one was hurt or anything of that nature.
Yes, no one was throwing coconuts. Thank goodness. All right, Amanda.
I've never been in a large scale food fight. I mean, we weren't even like super messy when we handed each other the cake at our wedding. Mm-hmm. So maybe like food here or there, but like not a food fight.
Yeah.
Not really.
No Animal House in West Florida, Pensacola.
And that was a big thing on TV shows when I was growing up, is like things would frequently devolve into either pillow fights or food fights. And so I saw them all the time, but I was just never a part of them. I didn't want to get in trouble for staining or messing something up in the house or have to clean up any other place. So I was never going to start it. And if it started, then I wanted to be far away from the backlash. So I was away.
That was not my worst fear at St. Joe. My worst fear, those early years, I had to ride my bike or I had to get a ride. And because mom had the younger kids as well, I would have to get a ride home. And It was a decent bike ride from behind Ripley's all the way out to St. Joe back in the day. And I tell people where I crossed US 1 and they're like, what? I said, we got to understand it wasn't as much traffic back then.
Yeah.
I would never do that today, nor would I let my kids make that bike ride today that I made. But I had some cousins who would give me a ride home, and they were all smokers. They were in a van. There was like 5 of them. And as soon as they got in the van, they lit up smoking cigarettes, leaving school. And I'm like, if my mom smells my clothes and their cigarette smoke, I'm really in between a rock and a hard place. Because if I rat them out as the smokers, I don't have a ride anymore. If I cop to I was the one smoking, there's no telling what the punishment is going to be. But either way, it was just a bad. Mom never said anything, and I'm like, how she never.
She knew.
I was like, oh my gosh! I was like, and they were her favorite nephews too, and I was like, I can't rat them out because then I'm just really in trouble. I'll get blamed for the whole thing. But no, that was my thing. Favorite class that you taught or took in the years that you were teaching?
Oh, my favorite class is teaching the Hebrew Scriptures, what we call the Old Testament.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Why the Old Testament?
Because it's so full of history. It's so full of showing God's forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
What I like to call the rhythm of events. The Israelites are the chosen people. They follow God. Things are good. They don't follow God. Things are bad. It's just like the sine curve in math, up and down and up and down.
Still going on today.
Definitely.
We're still living it out today. Amanda, what about you?
So to teach, I would say I probably really enjoy teaching history. And I probably enjoy taking a literature class because I enjoy discussing books, and you don't often get that opportunity. So probably as a student, literature, but as someone who teaches kids, probably history, because I love telling kids stories about what happened before they were ever there.
Yeah, mine was history. Mom would have told you that mine was PE, because we would always get the awards at the end of the year, and I would get the PE because I showed up and I dressed out all the time. Not that I was the best athlete in the class; it's just that I was, whatever test we had to take, I always did good at. But she'd be like, "Yes, all these other parents' kids get the social studies and the math awards and the literature awards, and you get the PE award." Like, but Mom, I got it's like it was fine. But history was my favorite. I've always had the ability to memorize facts and dates and those things, and was blessed with that. And so history was great. My kids hated that was my subject, because at St. Joe, if they had a question, they come on. I'm like, well, let me see your textbook. Nope, we're not getting the lecture, Dad. Just give us the short version of why this was important, because I would give them the whole back history. Yeah. So 100 years before this happened, like, Dad, I need to get my homework done. Just tell me this one brief thing, and then I will move on. Your favorite teacher?
Oh, that's hard. I've had excellent teachers all over the place. In high school, it would probably have to be Sister Mary George, who later became Sister Jane Miller. She taught theology, religion, and she also taught Latin, which I dearly loved.
Latin. We still had that at St. Joe when I was. Did they still? When did you give up Latin at St. Joe? Are they still teaching it?
No, they're not still teaching it. I don't know. It would have been after they moved to the new building.
Well, we had it in the early or the late 80s. We still had it.
Okay.
Because everybody was in one class, and my good friend Gary Usine was like one of 5 kids in Latin at that time. Mm-hmm. So he did very well. He retired at 40. So apparently I should have taken Latin.
Out of interest, did you teach out of Henley?
Yes, of course. Yeah. Yes, of course.
So I'm still teaching out of Henley. So if you're interested in teaching Latin, I have some students for you.
Where do you teach?
We're in a homeschool community, and so I have a class of 10th graders going in the fall, and we're going to be doing Henley second year this year. So it's they've done Henley first year for 3 years, little parts of it each year, and so this will be the first year with Henley second year.
All right.
Yeah.
Omnis Gallia est vidia, tus patres.
What she said. So most of the kids are not Catholic in this organization, or at least in my class. And so, it opens the doors for, theological discussions in addition to Latin discussions. So, yeah, it's
fantastic.
fun.
I had a lot of great teachers at CPS and a lot of some fun teachers in college as well. I will laugh. I told you PE, right? So Mary Ellen Stewart was one of my favorite teachers, mainly because our senior year, we had this big, huge chip on our shoulders as the guys. And so she decided that one of the semesters, the second semester, our senior year, our PE class would be square dancing. You should have seen the notes that we brought in not to have to square dance. It was like Juan Epstein's mother had written all of these notes for us. It was so funny.
And you wound up loving it.
Oh, no, we did not like it. We fought it the entire way. It was just hilarious. I can't dance. I can't sing or dance. So for me, it was like, I'm going to fail PE for the first time in my life if I have to take this.
But that's why square dancing is so good, because square dancing's not like super dancey dance. It's a lot of like marching and walking around.
So there's this thing called rhythm in music and dancing, and I don't have that. As a friend of mine who goes to the amphitheater with me says, I see you try to clap during songs, and occasionally you will wander into the beat, but it's not intentional. And that's honestly me. Sister Marie Treese, music teacher for years, I would look at her and go, it's not you. It's really not. God gave me skills. I'm not equipped for your class. I'm not. It wasn't a lack of teaching. I was just in a different line in heaven when I was getting there. I got different stuff. My other favorite, and she was never a teacher of mine because I never took art, but Sister Carol Wells. Sister Carol Wells, she was our homeroom teacher. Mm-hmm. I can let this out of the bag because she is retired. But she was funny because we were one of those classes that would get upset at what administration was doing. And in our defense at St. Joe, then we had 3 principals in 4 years in the early goings. And we had, so the last one shows up our senior year, and we're like, he's been here longer than this guy's been here. Let's see if he makes it till Christmas, right? I mean, we were like on the clock to see. And it was just, she was like, well, if you're, I don't know why you guys are mad about this. If it were me, I might do like something about this. She would give us ideas to go give administration heck. And we were just like, she was just really fun and cool about that. But yes, she laughed at us. She said, I would never do it that way. But, if you guys want it, you should. We're like, what would you do? And then she'd give us ideas. And so I really liked her so much so that years later at St. Joe, Barry Masters was working on an addition for her art room.
Correct.
And he just couldn't finish it. He had family issues and things. And so she called me and asked me to finish it. And Mike Hubeck was the principal at the time. And I went in his office and he says, we don't have the money to pay you to finish it. I said, well, we have a problem. Because that means either you have to go tell Sister Carol no, or I have to go tell Sister Carol no. So I'm not going to do that. So we're going to finish that and we'll figure out getting paid for it later. But we're not telling Sister Carol no. And he looked at me with this just sense of relief, like this huge weight had been lifted from his shoulders of, I don't have to tell Sister Carol now. I was like, we'll take care of it. It'll all work out. We're going to go get it done. But yes, it was very fun. So those are my 2 favorite that I had, mainly because I learned life lessons from them as much as other stuff. The food fight, 4th of July dessert. 4th of July was just this past
I didn't say
week.
my teacher.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Ms. McGill. She was an English teacher, and she really was passionate about teaching English literature in particular and debate. And so she was my favorite teacher. I shared that teacher with a certain congressperson. He was
not a fan of.
He was on the debate team, and that's why I was not on the debate team.
You didn't even want to be on the same team as him?
No, he was a miserable person to be around forever. So no.
Okay.
He is the entire reason why I was not on the debate team in high school.
We do trivia on Thursdays, and generally anytime I come in with a U.S. congressional question, if Amanda doesn't know the answer, she will just say this congressman's name because she knows.
If it's a bad story, I will.
She knows I will find out any information on this one congressman just to needle her. So yes,
we can talk off here.
Yes, you'll get the whole backstory. So 4th of July dessert. Since you had to go last, 4th of July dessert.
So we always do a birthday cake for America. So that's how we know how old America is every year, because we'll put a lot of times we'll put the candles with the birth year. What year America's turning. But we also do a s'mores dip. So it turns out looking like an American flag. And so we lay down the chocolate in the pan, and then you dip marshmallows in water and then cover them in sanding sugar. So like colored sanding sugar. And so we'll make an American flag in the pan, and then you bake it like 8 minutes at 450. And then you take your graham crackers and you use that like a dip.
Cool.
And so my kids love it. It looks beautiful on the table. It's a little bit like napalm when it first comes out of the oven. So give it some time and then you can dig in, and it's delicious. It's crowd favorite.
What about you?
Oh, hot fudge sundaes.
Hot fudge?
Hot fudge.
So Mom used to make this dessert. The cake was made with pecans and a couple other things. So it had really kind of a unique flavor. Then you put whipped cream on top of it. And then she would decorate it with cherries and with blueberries, right? So it usually was just a cherry dip across the top, but she always did the red, white, and blue
Yes.
for 4th of July. And it was my favorite dessert. I mean, everyone else in the family is like, it's okay, but it was my favorite one. And I was like, yeah, you got, it's patriotic. We're having this.
Right. We had red, white, and blue sprinkles.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Before we get it, Becky Stringer is watching. So
I saw her this morning.
did you?
Yes.
Yes. And I know she worked for Forever with Catholic Charities. She's an amazing person. Yes. But I wanted to give her a shout out. All right. So 4th of July dessert. I went to go see Horizon this weekend, which was Kevin Costner's Western sometimes can be slow. I wasn't a Dances with Wolves fan, but I loved Open Range. I thought that was one of the best Westerns. Horizon there's a lot of character development in it. And to me, it never really gets rolling, but it's still a really good story. And I think they were, is a fairly accurate portrayal of the tension between Native Americans and the settlers that were going out there. And so I'm hopeful that the second one is going to be a lot more action and stuff in it, but I really, really liked it. But question, favorite Western? What was your favorite Western?
I'm not much of a movie goer, so I'm going to go way, way back to the 1950s in television.
Yes.
Death Valley days.
Death Valley days. Who was in Death Valley?
It was different people every half hour on Saturday night, and it was always a human interest, where they showed the better. And I can, for example, a woman raised by the Indians because of some sort of war, a white woman raised by the Indians, and coming in and people accepting her and accepting her ways. It was always a human interest story that showed the better of the West.
Okay. And I will go back that far. One of my favorite old time ones was Have Gun Will Travel.
Oh, Have Gun Will Travel.
I love Paladin. I love that Richard
Boone.
Boone. He was great. Phenomenal voice of Smaug in The Hobbit. He was just I just really, and he had one movie with Big Jake with John Wayne where he was the bad guy, and I thought he was just a phenomenal bad guy. But yes, did you look up? You were over there typing. I didn't know if you looked up.
I was trying to figure out the cast for Death Valley series, but it was coming up with a horror series from 2011, so I was no use there.
Okay.
So my favorite Western is Blazing Saddles.
Oh, yes.
But I guess the honorable mention would be Dancing with Wolves. So those are my favorite.
So I was a huge Western because when I was a kid, that was the genre. I mean, it was every show on TV was either a cop drama or it was a Western, and you had all of these different series, and we were watching them in reruns as little kids. I always thought The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance was a phenomenal one. Yeah. I kind of thought that as Casablanca of the West, of the Westerns, and I thought The Searchers was a phenomenal one. That's probably my favorite Western of all time. I think John Wayne did a phenomenal performance in that, and again, it showed that that war between the American Indians and the settlers and what they were going through. Mom bought me the book years later, and I read the book. Very interesting. The main character in the book was Amos. So I'm really glad they changed him to Ethan for the movie, because otherwise my Ethan might be Amos, and I'm not sure he would be happy with me right now. But I thought that was really cool. Tombstone's the best Western I've seen in the last 20-some years. Kurt Russell was phenomenal in that. And Val Kilmer, they just were great. And Open Range I thought was good. But and Horizon Ice, it was a fun movie to kind of watch. And I'm hoping that the next one's a little better. What's your favorite? You don't go to the movies often.
No.
Any movie that you've gone to see, you're like, well, that was really worth my time to go.
It's been a long time since I've been to the movies. Go ahead, because I got to think.
Let's see. So back to the Westerns question. Does Tremors count as a Western?
Tremors counts in every genre.
Okay.
It's one of the greatest movies of all time.
So that's fantastic too. I'll say Tremors too.
Tremors is one of the great. If you say Tremors, you automatically are.
Yeah.
There's a couple of movies that, as a family, if it comes on TV, somebody will text the other people in the family. And my dad and my brother Todd and I, Tremors was it. If it was on, we would like text.
Yeah.
And then with Todd and I, it was this crazy movie that had every comedic actor from the 60s and 70s. It's a mad, mad, mad world where they discover a guy goes off a cliff. He's dying from a car accident, and he tells like 12 random strangers that there's money buried under a giant W in this park. And they decide that they're trying to divide up the money on the side of the highway. It's stolen money from a bank job or something that this guy got away with. And I think Jimmy Durante was the guy that went off the cliff and kicks away. But they're all trying to figure out how to divide it up. And it is some of the most funny, but Buddy Hackett is there in that group. And he's like, we figured this thing 17 different ways. And every time we figure it, somebody gets upset. And as he's saying it, everybody's taking a step back. And then he keeps talking and they take another, and you know they're all getting ready to run for their cars. The amount of people that they run into, by the time they finally get to the park, there's like 50 people that are there to dig up the money. I just thought that was one of the best movies. But Todd and I would text, it's on this channel. My kids were like, no, Dad, don't put that movie on. Please, Dad, don't put that movie on.
So Bobby wants to know if you remember the 20 Mule Team Borax as the sponsor.
Definitely,
Okay.
that was. Yes, definitely. Yes. And it was Saturday night, and I think it was like 6:30 or so.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's funny. As far as new movies, the most powerful new movie that I've seen, I would say was Sound of Freedom.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I don't go to a ton of movies either these days.
Well, and Bobby had two really good ones, The Rifleman and Wild Wild West.
Oh, yes. Wow, Wow West was good.
It was the James Bond of the West. That was awesome.
So I didn't even know that Rifleman was a TV show until my parents were trying to buy a dining room table. And my mom was like, well, I want to see if there's anything at the antique stores downtown. And my dad went, I don't know why she took my dad. And one of the stores had a table that they claimed was the dining room table from The Rifleman. And so they were selling the dining room table from the TV show The Rifleman. And they had no papers to authenticate this, but that was the claim. And so to this day, he's still like, we could have gotten the table from The Rifleman.
Some kid wrote underneath my favorite shows, A Rifleman. And then they said, oh, look, it was a Rifleman.
Right?
That would have been, yeah. We were big Davy Crockett. Davy was a huge Bess Parker. Yeah, that was a huge show.
And of course, the Lone Ranger.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We had the Davy Crockett like golden book with a record, and it started with the theme song, and I kept trying to figure out how he was kilt in a barn when he was only 3. I had no idea it said kilt him a bear
Yes.
when he was only 3. I was like, how did he do all this if he was kilt in a barn when he was 3? I couldn't understand it.
It was in Southern.
Yes,
It wasn't Latin, it was Southern.
Yes, and I was in the Panhandle of Florida, which isn't like they claim it's not the South, so I get it.
It's the South.
It's the South.
It's the South.
It's the
That's
redneck
part of the
Riviera.
South. So thank you for coming on.
Oh, you're best
And
welcome.
thank you for sharing what you're doing. And thank you for doing what you're doing. You have been blessed to have such a huge impact on so many people over the years. And the fact that you're continuing to do that, just it makes me very happy for you. It makes me very happy for the people who you're impacting. And your legacy will go on a long, 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 long time. You're one of those folks that God has put here. You will never know generationally how, well, you will when you get in heaven, but which I hope that's a long time. But the generations that you have changed and the people that have benefited from all the time that you have spent with them.
Well, thank you.
So thank you for that.
And thank you for all you do and for all you do.
Thank
And
you.
come see us again
We will.
before the Grand Opening.
will.
Bring your boss.
Bring my boss. Okay.
Yeah, you have to behave when she's here, though. You can't misbehave like you did
I
today.
will. I know I have to. I read your directions. I'll have to sit out there while she's in here.
No. You're in here. No one puts Sister Susan in the corner.
No.
No, you have to. Davey wrote that up for us, and it was like, I looked at it. There was a couple things in there where it said it had to be in 2 days early.
Yeah.
I just deleted that out and sent it because I didn't send it out 2 days early, Davey. So I
Yeah.
edited that before it got sent. But no,
I don't send it early enough either.
No, Davey's on a different schedule than
Yeah.
us. But thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, God bless you for everything that you
Thank
do.
you.
All right, this is the Mike Davis Show. We'll be back tomorrow. Davey will be here. Will you be here tomorrow?
I will be here tomorrow.
And I think that show that's on in the morning or something might be on tomorrow morning. A few people I know like to watch that, but Pete might be in tomorrow. You might want to check.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow.